In this lesson, we're going to have a look at uploading bank statements into the system. So at the moment, we've got our real bank where transactions are happening, and we've got Odoo where where the same transactions are happening, but at the moment there's no linking between the two of them. So what we'll do is we'll download a spreadsheet or a CSV file from our bank, and then we can import that into the system and make sure we can line everything up and we'll square everything away. So first off, we're in Odoo, and what we'll do is we'll have a look at the bank statement first. So let's open this up beside the other one. So this is a bank statement we've just downloaded. So some banks will have headers and others will not. The one I've downloaded here doesn't, and the one I use in real life doesn't as well. So what we need to do is put some headers in there first. So we'll need to do that, but also note that we've got this line here, which is a bank transaction fee that they've charged 82 cents for. Now I know, or we both know, that there are no existing transactions that's going to land in. So we need to have to think about what we do with those bank fees. So I think that the best thing to do there is to create a separate account in our chart of accounts to collect that data. So let's do that first. So we're in accounting at the moment. So if we go to configuration and add a chart of accounts, and what we'll do is we'll create a new one. So a bank fee is an expense. It's something that we get charged. So the expenses are down in the 6 area. So you can see all our expenses here. So advertising, car and truck expenses, those sorts of things. These are pre-configured ones. I didn't create these. The system already had these by default based on our localization in Australia. But what I've had a look through, and there is nothing that kind of really suits a bank fee. So let's create one. So we'll create a new one, and the code we'll give this is, let me find it. So the code we'll give this is 61810. Really the code, the first 2 digits of the code tend to indicate what type of code of accounts it is, and then the last 3 tend to be unique or have to be unique. As long as the whole thing is unique, you're pretty right. We'll give it a name, something that's meaningful to us. Bank fees seems to work pretty well. And the type of account is an expense account, so it's expenses. And that's all we really need to do there. And we can save that out and we're done. So not too onerous, pretty easy, and a good thing to be aware of too. If you're ever wondering what accounts you have available, you can take a quick peek at our chart of accounts and you can see what's already there by default. If you're looking for something you don't feel like you've got the right ones in there, if you want to, let's I think we did an earlier exercise where we put rent in as an office expense. You might want to separate that out and either find an existing one that's more suitable for it. If not, create your own. Not something I tend to go too overboard with. I try and keep mine to the minimum and nice and clean and so forth. If I have a real desire to track a particular expense, then I'll break it out into something more refined. So now we've got that done, we can go back to the overview and we'll park that there for a minute. We'll jump back over here to the bank statement, and as I mentioned, many banks don't put in the headers, the titles for these accounts. It goes straight into the numbers. So what I'll do is I'll right click here on the number 1 and go down to insert row above, and so that just popped a little row right at the very top. And what I'll do is I'll expand this a bit, add a little bit, just so we can see what's going on. So we've got the date column here, we've got an amount column, we've got a label, and we've got a cumulative balance. So this accumulative balance, we know we started off with $9,500. When you take away that number, then you get that number. That's kind of what that cumulative balance is. In fact, we're not even interested in this cumulative balance column, but that comes with the bank statement anyway, so it's there. So let me start off by putting a header in here, a title, and what we want to type this, and this is important to kind of get this right, but we want statement space / lines. I know I misspelt that. Oh, sorry. Let me start again. Statement space lines / date. And I'll copy that because I'm lazy, and I'll paste that there, and then I'll change date to amount. And then I'll paste in there again and change that one to label. Making sure we've got the space between the slash and the space between the slash there. But it's statement lines with an S, space / space, and then the what we call a field name, the title. So this format, typed it in exactly like this, will make it so easy for Odoo to import this data. And what we'll do is we'll give this one a title just so it's not missing. I'll just call it Bell. As I said, we're not going to import this one anyway, but that is by default. You do get that balancing line that comes with most banks. So pretty easy to do. You go to your bank, you download the CSV file of your statements, and then we open it up. If it doesn't already have lines, it doesn't already have headers, you can put those ones in here. In fact, if they do have headers, you maybe save yourself a little bit of work and rename the headers at the time. But what we'll do now is we'll save this as, I like to save it as a different file, just so I've got the original there. If I ever need to reference it, I'll say with headers and save. Great. So now we've got that sorted. We can actually close this away and get rid of it. Now we'll open this one back up again so we can see everything. So this is a bank statement, so we need to go to our bank tile and click on the three little dots and go down to view statements. So at the moment we don't have any statements, so what we'll do is import the statement we just created or modified. So we'll go to favorites and then import records, and what we want to do is upload a file, and we pick the one with the headers that we just created and say okay. You'll notice here that it's matched up what we typed with the real head. That's the real header, and that's the one we typed in. So you'll notice that they're exactly lined up. If, for example, it wasn't quite lined up, you might need to go and just pick the right header out of the field, out of the drop down. As I mentioned, the balancing line, we're not even going to use it, so we're not even going to select the field to import. We're not that interested in it. Whenever you're importing data into the system, it is highly recommended that you click the little test button first. And by doing so, you see everything seems valid. It doesn't mean everything's correct, but everything looks correct. I just had a look at it and said, yeah, that looks kind of right. If there were any problems there, you'd have to go and deal with those and then come back. So if that's all good, let's import this data. And I've now got this is a blue line, so it indicates that it's in draft. Go away you. So we can open this one up now, and you see it's got those entries that we had in there. Now at the moment, this is saying a starting balance of 0 and an ending balance of minus $1,461.74. Because we don't have any previous statements, it looks at the previous statement to get the opening balance, and at the moment we don't have any, so it's saying, well, it's zero. When you upload your second, third, fourth, fifth statement, it will just read the last one and it will automatically populate that. But for our first time through, we need to edit this. So let's click on edit. Now we know our opening balance is $9,500, and if we click away, watch this computed balance down the bottom. It adjusts to take into account these transactions where they're positive or negative. So if we've got any payments from our customers, they'd be a positive one in here. But because these are all transactions where we have paid our suppliers, they're negative numbers. What we need to do there is copy that number here, or you can physically just type it in, but I'm lazy, so I'll paste that in there. And now our starting balance is $9,500. When we take into account all these transactions, the ending balance will be that balance. So it's just a way of double checking. Odoo doesn't do that automatically for you, just to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing there, that you've copied that in there. Well, that's my excuse anyway. I'm not exactly sure why they don't automatically populate that, but it's one of the mysteries. So let's keep going. So we can now save this, and it's now ready to go, and it's in a new state, so it's still in draft. We can still edit it if we need to, but what I'll do is I'll post it, and by posting it, it moves it from new to processing. So we haven't finished processing this yet. It can still be modified, and what we'll do is when we reconcile these transactions, it'll populate the partner in there that these relate to. So we don't need to do anything else there. We can just save that and we're done. Once we've posted it, we're finished. So let's go back to the accounting dashboard now, and you'll notice that over here I've got a new button that says reconcile for all items. Great. So we've still got the outstanding amount there of the minus $1,460.92. So let's go and have a look at these once we need to reconcile. So reconciling is, if you look at this, the way to read this page is that you've got this block here, above here, that we're working on at the moment, and we've got these ones down here. These three are still to be, we're not working on them right now, we're working on this one right now. So we know we've got a bank transaction in there of number 7, which Odoo's got these these are bolded, which means that Odoo thinks, oh, it's one of these. So this is either the full payment for this one, or it's a part payment for some of these other ones. Odoo doesn't know for sure, so it's kind of saying, this is the one I reckon it is, but I'll leave it up to you. So we'll click on that one that does match, the fish link one. And now those two are in balance because we've got one on one side of the transaction and that on the other side of the transaction, so it balances out. So we can validate that now, and that means that's sorted. This one is the bank transaction. So there is no obvious one here. So what do we do with that? It doesn't know what to do with it at all, because there is no existing transactions, yet the bank knows that that money was taken out. So we'll need to do a manual operation for this. So I've got the miscellaneous matching and then manual operation. We need to tell it what bank account to come from. So we had bank fees in there. That was that account that we just created in the chart of accounts. So now we've got somewhere for those bank fees to land. It's got that label. It's probably good practice, put bank fees in there just to make sure that everybody understands that these two link up and so forth. So now we can deal with that 82 cents and it will land in that particular account. So we can validate that one now, and that's sorted. The next one we've got is the payment to ABC Games. which happens to have exactly the same amount. Odoo thinks it's this one, and we'll say yes, that is correct, and we'll validate that one. And then we've got the last one for our rent, and that lines up perfectly, so we'll also validate that one. And you get the little smiley face saying, oh, it's all great because everything's happy. We'll go back to our dashboard, and we can now see that all that's been sorted. We know how much money we've got in the bank. It's all good. So that is how you import. Well, we created a new account in our chart of accounts to deal with those bank fees. We then downloaded a CSV file from our real bank, and we then had to modify that to ensure we had the correct headers in. The heading line was in place, and then we saved that and we imported it into Odoo from the three little dots and view statements, and we imported that, and then we corrected this to make sure it's right. From this time onwards, when we import a statement, it will automatically have the ending balance in there, so we won't need to do that work. But that's now sorted for us. And just by the way, notice that I mentioned that we put the partners in there once we reconciled, and that's what it's done. So after we imported that and corrected the starting and ending balances and so forth, we then posted it, which put it into the system and said, yes, this is a real thing. It's gone from draft to now to a posted entry. And then we went in and reconciled those transactions with the real ones in the bank. So it does the matching between the two. This is what I had in the bank, this is what I had in the system, and linked them up. So now our bank statements, our bank in the system matches our bank in real life. And that was it for that lesson. So I will see you on the next one.